For there is a man in this very hall who seeks to destroy you, my king. He sits at your right hand, pretending to be loyal, but he has sharpened his dagger against you in the shadows." Tobias choked on his meat. His eyes bulged. Once upon a time in the great kingdom of Zoravia, there was a tradition that no woman, not even the queen, was allowed to enter the king's inner palace. It was a sacred place where the most important matters of the kingdom were discussed, and only men appointed by the king had the privilege to step foot in that chamber. But Queen Isi, the youngest wife of King Alexander, dared the tradition. She was not an ordinary woman. She was bold, intelligent, and feared nothing. Rumors had begun to spread throughout the kingdom that something was amiss in the palace. People whispered about the king's right-hand man, Tobias, a cunning and ambitious man who had grown too powerful over the years. Princess Kamaria, one of the king's daughters, had long been suspicious of him and had once informed her mother, but she was asked to keep it to herself as there was no concrete evidence. One fateful day, as Queen Isi was walking near the palace gardens, she overheard a conversation between two of Tobias's closest men. They spoke of a secret plot to overthrow the king and take control of the throne, all orchestrated by Tobias. Her heart raced as she realized the gravity of the situation. Tobias hated the young queen and planned to destroy her people, betray the king, and take the kingdom for himself. Without hesitation, Queen Isi stormed towards the inner palace. The guards at the door immediately stepped in her path, reminding her of the ancient law forbidding women from entering. But Queen Isi would not be stopped. Before she could push forward, she came face to face with Queen Samantha, the king's first wife, who heard the argument from her quarters. "Isi, are you out of your mind? You know the law. If you step in there, you risk your life. Do you want to bring shame upon yourself?" Samantha whispered urgently. Queen Isi lifted her chin and replied,
"If I perish, I perish."
Before Queen Samantha could say another word, Isi approached the guards and screamed, "I am Queen Isi, the beloved wife of King Alexander. I demand that you step aside and let me pass through." The guards hesitated, looking at one another in shock, but her commanding voice sent shivers down their spines. They moved aside and she marched straight into the forbidden chamber. Inside, King Alexander sat on his throne with Tobias at his right hand, discussing matters of the kingdom. The moment Isi entered, the room fell silent. Gasps echoed as the men in the chamber stared in disbelief. Tobias's eyes widened in shock, but he quickly masked his expression with a smirk. King Alexander rose from his seat, anger flashing in his eyes. "Isi, what is the meaning of this? You know no woman is allowed here." With a deep breath, Isi knelt before him. "My king, I have come to plead for my people, for you and for this kingdom. I ask that you and Tobias attend a feast I have prepared for you tomorrow." The king, though confused, nodded. "Very well, we will come." The next day, the feast was grand, but Isi revealed nothing. She invited them to another feast the following day. Once again, she held back her revelation. On the third day, Queen Isi prepared the grandest feast of all. The air was thick with the scent of spiced lamb, honeyed plantains, and steaming bowls of vegetable soup. Tobias, greedy as ever, tore into a large chunk of goat meat, his lips dripping with oil. It was at that moment that Isi finally spoke. "O great king, if I have found favor in your eyes, I beg you, spare my life." The room fell silent. The king frowned. "Spare your life? What do you mean?" Queen Isi turned to Tobias, her voice steady but sharp. "For there is a man in this very hall who seeks to destroy you, my king. He sits at your right hand, pretending to be loyal, but he has sharpened his dagger against you in the shadows." Tobias choked on his meat. His eyes bulged. The king rose in fury, slamming his goblet onto the table. Who is this man? Name him. Easy's finger pointed straight at Tobias. It is him, chaos erupted. The king, overcome with anger, stepped aside to clear his head. He paced to the window, trying to control his rage. It was in that brief moment that Tobias made a fatal mistake. Panicked, he rushed toward Queen Easy, grabbing her by the arms in an attempt to plead for mercy. Just then, the king turned back, only to see Tobias gripping his wife's clothes. His face darkened with fury. To him, it looked as if Tobias was trying to force himself on Queen Easy. "How dare you?" the king roared, his voice shaking the walls. He stormed toward them and backhanded Tobias so hard that he staggered. "Guards!" the king bellowed. "Seize him!" The royal guards rushed forward, grabbing Tobias by the arms. "No, no, my king, I would never," Tobias pleaded, but it was too late. "You have not only betrayed your king, but have dared to lay hands on my queen," the king spat. By dawn, Tobias met his end. Join me to pray. Heavenly Father, the mighty defender of the righteous, we call upon you today. Just as you fought for Queen Easy and exposed the wicked plans of Tobias, arise and fight for us. Every enemy plotting against our progress, every hand raised to destroy our reputation. O Lord, let them be caught in their own traps. Let their wickedness return upon their own heads, and let their downfall be swift and undeniable. O Lord, arise, show yourself mighty in our lives. Vindicate us, protect us, and let our victory bring glory to your name. If you believe that God will fight for you, shout a mighty amen.
She boldly broke a queen's resolve, her